At this time, I would like to open the meeting for the Carver Conservation Commission for March 20th, 2019. Our order of business has us looking at appointments and discussions initially. First one is the discussion of the enforcement order for 17 Wareham Street.
For the record, Mr. Chairman, my name is Mark Garrett. I am the principal investigator at the Garrett Group in Plymouth, Massachusetts. We are a wetlands consulting firm. We've been in business for over 20 years. Former chairman of the ZBA and the planning board in Plymouth. I've been doing this for about 35 years. We have a former colleague of mine sitting on the table. We've worked together before professionally. I was retained late last week by Chris and Ashley to basically work through the enforcement order process. I've read it, I understand what you folks are looking for, and I'm prepared to engage in that work. When I was out there doing the site visit on Saturday, Chris asked me if they should actively start doing things, and I said hold off until tonight, since the meeting was only a few days after my site visit, because I just want to make sure, I want them to be compliant with the concept of the restoration plan. And I'm not sure if you want to approve a restoration plan beforehand and then have them do the restorative work, including the removal of material, or do you want to segregate the removal of the material from the wetlands? And although it's not flagged, I agree that there's material in the wetland. Pull that stuff out immediately and then work on a restoration plan relative to the vegetation that was removed. So I asked that question as part of my presentation to you.
It's a valid question. I think a lot of things are really quite obvious, but I'll turn it over to Savory. Would you like to talk on this question?
Okay, I will.
If you want to.
No, I will. I think that the first thing that we had asked that the couple do is to flag the area, so that we can go back and take a look at exactly where the 200 foot from the river is, et cetera. At this point, I think that we would probably want to see that first before they would start removing anything, because until we know what is really protected, removing it now may cause more damage than good if it's not done.
And that's why I'm asking
in
the
the
question.
right way.
That's
So
appropriate.
I would suggest that we mark the 200 feet and then go back and take a look at it, and maybe, when we do a site visit, have you join us and maybe come up with a plan.
Sure. Well, here's what we're prepared to do, and I'm prepared to do that maybe starting on the weekend, certainly early next week. I'm going to go out and I'm going to flag the edge of the riverfront, the bankful edge of the river, and I'm also going to flag the BVW. Reason for that is very simple. There are two different issues we're dealing with. Dealing with the 200 foot off the river. We're also dealing with a 100 foot buffer zone off the BVW. While the performance standards are similar, there might be some differentiation in terms of the overlap and what have you. So we will do that. I have already spoken to the surveyor who has already prepared their boundary survey, and he's going to incorporate the flagged locations into the boundary survey.
Okay.
Okay, we will have a plan in our hand to look at, as well as flags in the field to look at. Okay, and I have no problem with doing that site visit, and that sounds like an appropriate order and sequencing of things before we start moving stuff around.
Okay.
I mean, if you're comfortable with that,
I
that's.
am.
Yeah,
I'm one of four, but I'm comfortable.
There are obvious issues at the site where the stumps are actually on or in the river. If you
Yeah.
go in on the right side down there, you know where I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's obvious. I think if I wouldn't have an issue with you pulling those out prior to us getting there, if you want something to do. I'm just saying.
It's going to get done ultimately. My
Yes.
question is more, believe me, I'm busy enough as it is, but I can get to this within the time frame. But I wanted to make sure I understood your collective urgency on this. We can start removing that stuff tomorrow if you want, without the delineation. However, if you want the delineation, even though I agree there are some things that are fairly obvious, if we're going to do the delineation anyway, it may make more sense to get everything on paper so we know exactly what we're doing.
That works.
I'm open
That's-
to, I'm open to what you
Well, it's-
folks need here.
It's been there a while, so, I'm with you, Savory. If you feel that, you want, we have to do the BVW and then the 200-foot, and,
My plan is,
and then are you going to also, on the drawings, locate the issues that we were talking about, or not?
yes, yes, I've already photo documented
Okay,
the problems.
all right.
Okay?
That's good.
And what I propose to put on the plan is the edge of jurisdictional resource, BVW and river. I'm also going to show the 65-foot setback
touch, yeah.
for the bylaw, the 100-foot setback off of BVW, and the 200-foot riverfront area. I'm guessing, just don't hold me to this, but I'm guessing that the edge of the river and the BVW in this case are probably coincident lines.
If not exactly.
Well, there is a
very
steep
close.
bank
Yes,
there.
yeah,
There
yeah.
is a steep bank there, yeah, so.
Okay, so I'm thinking that the 100-foot buffer zone off the BVW may also represent the 100-foot first setback in the riverfront area, just so we have all of that set. And we're going to clearly depict that on, I don't want to commit to anything right now because I'm not in the field, but my experience, my visual observation tells me that this is probably the way it's going to play out, and have all of those lines clearly labeled and distinct, so when we're there, we know exactly what we're talking about. And then from there, once we get agreement amongst ourselves, we commence with that restoration plan and get it to you.
Well, I
And that
think
would lead more on the planting issues
I
and the
think
cut
there'll be a
vegetation.
separation there. I think there'll be a little separation there when you get into the floodplain area down below, where where the river does flood over. There'll be a separation between the high river bank and the BVW down in that area.
There may be, I don't think so, because I'm just in another life, I'm a conservation agent in Dartmouth. And we are seeing that basically what our inundation levels are now are pretty close to the 100-year storm event. And that is the definition of bank full.
Yes, it is.
And so in looking at what I was looking at on, and again, I didn't look everywhere, so there may be some variation, but what I was looking at, where the river is sitting, where standing water that is associated with the thread of the stream exists, that is pretty close to the edge of the BVW at this point. So I think you have a corridor, wherever the border is, you're still going to have these offset lines, which are still your jurisdiction. I'm just thinking that they're pretty similar in all cases.
Well, when you get down there, just check down where they cleared on the rivers. You'll see a small plain area where they cleared up.
I
Just check
walked
that.
right down to the water there, yep,
You'll see it.
yep.
Thank you.
You had some questions?
I did. I was under the impression, after our last discussion, that you were going to remove the stumps out of the edge of the bank and clean up some of the trash and stuff, and we had talked about leave the big pile of logs there till you got the delineation marks, till you knew where you were going with it, and so forth and so on. And then, nothing's been done. So, that's just an observation. I was under the impression that that stuff was going to be done before you came back before this board.
Yeah,
That was the way it was left, because we didn't want to make a big to-do out of this and take it to the state and so forth and so on. We were going to work with you. The agreement, I was under the impression that we had, and I played back the tape to be sure, was that the stumps were going to be gone. That was the first thing that was coming out of there, like, the next day, unless it snowed. I think that was the comment. We don't want you cleaning up in a snowstorm. But we didn't want this to run out till next August. On your behalf, I think Savory brought up that as far as restoring what you've cut, we kind of felt, I think as a board, I think Jim, you agreed, I think Savory did, Tim did, that it was all fresh cut, and if you just leave it alone,
It'll grow back.
it's gonna grow back like crazy in the spring anyway, so that would mitigate the need for you guys to have to go do any plantings, which was kind of like the easy way out. You know, you cut the stuff, but you didn't take the roots out. The sticks were sticking up out of the ground. It was all fresh cut. They'll all grow back. That'll all be filled in by growth
Yeah, we
by
weren't gonna have them
July.
replant.
Yeah, it's gonna come right back. So we didn't think that there was gonna be a need for replanting.
I
would
concur
personally-
with that.
Yeah, I would personally like to see, and everybody has their hot topic, but mine is the logs over the bank.
Well, mine is too. I agree.
They gotta go. They gotta go ASAP. I don't care when the line gets put out, because no matter where that delineation line is, those logs gotta go.
Yep.
And that's where we were coming from with it. This is what has to come out, no matter what the outcome of the markings and so forth. It's just because somebody else sees that kind of stuff hanging off the bank, and then they go do it on their property. Think nothing of it. So, I really would like you to, if you can do that, get the logs out of there, clean up some of that, the pallets and the trash. By all means, we're looking very forward to the markings. I made it a point to say, don't move the log pile, don't take out the ground asphalt going into the bog until we know exactly what we're doing. Why make you move the stuff more than once? We know it's gotta come out of there, but we don't know where it's gonna end up, and if we work with planning and we work with this board, we can find a solution for this probably on-site, and you're only moving it once. We're not trying to put the gentleman out of business. So that's, that's where I was coming from, but that's to the best of my
So I
recollection,
thought-
that's
Al, that's the same thing I
conversation.
was
So
trying to
it's
say
basically the
earlier.
ones that are over on the,
The ones on the right
in the edge
side
of the
that are over in
wetland,
the bank,
into
yeah.
the wetland, yeah.
Okay. I don't remember that, doesn't mean it didn't happen.
It did.
The minutes from when we discussed the enforcement order from February 20th state, Tim made a motion to issue an enforcement order requiring a survey and the subsequent removal of all materials.
And I think.
But
it
we,
was-
we purposely discussed the removal of the stumps, like Al said. I remember that conversation distinctly.
Well, you said you wanted
That's
to
why I brought
start
it up.
very
But,
soon, right?
You know, now that they have a conservationist, I'm sorry, now that they have a conservationist working with them, I will go whatever the board wants, but I would like to listen to this gentleman. He's got some good ideas. He's been in the business for a while, so I have a little bit of confidence in what you're saying.
I don't want to answer a question with a question, but going back to my original question, I want to do what you folks need. I can have them out removing those logs tomorrow if weather permits. Obviously, tomorrow may not be the best day to do it, but, okay, we can do that as soon as possible. I didn't want them to get in and start mucking around, and then because I wasn't at the previous meeting, and I wasn't privileged to the draft minutes, so I'm going mostly on hearsay. It's about, you tell me when you want those logs out. If you want them out yesterday, they come out yesterday. If you give me a week, okay, maybe a week and a half, I'll take the week and a half. The timing is irrelevant to me. It is only relevant as it meets your needs at this point, because I don't think anybody's debating whether that stuff has to come out or not. We know it has to come out. It's a matter of when.
Do you think that by our next meeting, which is roughly 2 weeks from now, that you could have the surveying on the lines, the stakes placed for those 6,500 and 200-foot barriers?
Well, what's going to happen is I will flag the wetland resources. I can have the surveyors put stakes out offsetting the 65 and the 100 and the 200 in the field. Probably not as many flags as I'm putting out, but we can show,
The general
lines,
line, yeah.
so you can see what it is in the field. I can't speak for the surveyor. I will be on the phone with him tomorrow and give him my sequencing of what I'm going to do. And like I said, I may be out there Sunday morning doing this flagging. So once I'm done with the flagging, then it's when the surveyor can get out there and do
We can
that.
make this, Mr. Chairman, we can make this easy. There is nothing, we have nothing for the 3rd of April.
We have no filings for the
next one
3rd.
would be the 17th of April. That gives you, would that work a little bit better? The
17th of
17th
April?
With April,
would
yeah,
be-
a month,
would be
absolutely.
our
Yeah.
normal second meeting in April,
absolutely.
but right now we have nothing
Because
for
we
the
have no
1st.
filings for the 3rd, so we really
Okay,
didn't
so
have a
you-
meeting
yes.
scheduled.
By the 17th of April, what I would like to see is the logs, that done,
Well,
but
I
I'd
was
like to
getting
see the
that.
logs
I
removed,
was- I
the
was
trash.
I was getting to that.
Okay, I'm
But
sorry.
you're welcome to.
No, go right ahead, Al, you're doing a great job.
So at least remove those logs before the.
Well, here's a thought. Let's just play this out. If we're setting this for a month from today, give or take, okay? If we get the flagging out and we get a plan out, I can be in contact with Brooke, and if you folks want to do a site visit, I realize you have to do the open meeting stuff and all that. If you have a quorum out there, we can do the site visit before the actual meeting. We may be ahead of schedule if that's comfortable with you. Again, I want to be flexible to what you need in this initial phase, because obviously this is all response to get the thing cleaned up. We'll do the planning, as Mr. Jermaine said, after we get the initial.
Yeah, and I think this is a good faith effort. I mean, you guys went out and you hired somebody to come in and take care of this and do this. This is the right way to do it. I'm sorry you're having to incur the cost, but this is the right way to get it done and not get yourself in a whole bunch of hot water. All I really am concerned with is if we can get the obvious stuff that isn't gonna cause him having to come in here with trucks and boom cranes and so forth to move the big logs. Just the stuff that's over the embankment we talked about the last time, that little pile of trash that's down on the back corner of that bog. It's,
Pallets, all that stuff.
I didn't trespass, so I didn't go and look.
Trash is gone, some of the pallets are still there.
So we can move the pallets and the logs off the embankment and then have you come back with the markings and so forth. We're not trying to kill anybody here, we're trying to make this
I
work.
understand.
So would that be fair enough?
Yeah, thank
And it gives you the 17th?
Leaving the long logs.
Leaving the
Just
long
taking the
logs till we
stuff.
get the numbers out, because then we want to find out, I assume that once that is marked off, you're going to look for an alternative way to do the exact same thing still on your property. So if that goes through and that works out with planning and conservation on a new location, you only got to move them once.
Right. Okay.
I just don't want to have you having to move them 3 times because that didn't work, and that's crazy. Why would you want to spend that kind of money?
I've actually had a demand for wood. I've moved 7 loads already.
So.
So, yeah, I've been advertising more in the log laying firewood, and 7 loads have already left.
Good,
Oh.
excellent.
Yeah.
All right,
All right, well, if we can get the stumps off the embankment.
Well, that's
because-
the start of it. That just continues on with, okay, I'm serious, I'm really gonna get this done for you.
Right, well,
So-
things are starting to grow.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I
it's-
want,
you know,
I want to get things, those logs
so
up so things can grow.
It is the first
So
day
the
of
minute you
spring.
get rid of those, everything will start to grow back.
Exactly.
remove them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
That'll help.
then, if I understand correctly, because I want to do this right, you are authorizing us to get that stuff out
Yeah.
immediately?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you're
Fair enough.
doing it from the upper bog
Right,
road,
I understand, I
not
understand.
down over the
There's a
embankment.
road right there, you can cherry pick it right out.
Yeah, no, the doing is not the hard
Right.
part. I just wanted to
Yep.
make sure we were
Yep.
we were being compliant with your requirements under the enforcement order. That's where I am coming from on
Yep.
So
this.
the stumps on the outside of the bog road, the,
The north side there,
yes,
where-
the
Yeah.
north side and.
facing
the
Wareham
east.
Street.
And
Pallets and all that.
anything within the bog itself that is not the long log lengths.
Yes.
So that would be pallets, any
Okay.
kind of burn pit,
Yep.
anything. Is that okay?
In the
All right,
next meeting,
good.
can we agree on that, the 17th?
You want that for the
Yep,
17th?
might as
Well,
well.
we'll reschedule them to appear that, even if something does come up for the,
Right.
For the 3rd, so
Yeah.
we'll just schedule you for the 17th.
Yeah.
That fair enough?
Fair enough.
and as you maybe reach some plateaus in this production, please keep Brooke informed.
I will.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was
Is that how easy that was?
You didn't have to say anything.
Have we decided when we're going to go out there, or are you
No,
going to
not
let
yet.
us know, Brooke?
Not yet.
You'll just let us know, Brooke.
Because we might do a site visit with Mark probably before the meeting.
Yes,
We may or we may not.
Right.
Say
Depends on-
the morning of the 17th or something?
maybe.
Well, it depends on his conversation with you.
Because
on
we
where he's at.
typically do site visits before the meetings anyway, so I
Right.
mean, that would,
My understanding is I'm going to have a conversation with Brooke, and Brooke is going to tell me when you folks want to do the site visit. I'm going to tell her when we're prepared to have you do the site visit, and then, I mean, the ball's in your court as to schedule that.
okay.
That'll work.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank
The thing
you.
I would ask,
Thanks, Mike.
if you don't mind, these retired gentlemen here like to do these site visits on Wednesday during the day, and there's a few of us that still work for a living. So
That would include me. I'm out of town every Wednesday,
Be
so.
okay. I gotta dig them as much as I can. If it would be possible for me to pop over like on a Saturday. So
But
I'd let
Al,
you know.
I would prefer just
We could all do it Saturday.
Don't worry, Al works like he's retired.
For me, the way my schedule is over the next 2 months, Wednesdays won't work for me. I would prefer a weekend or
Okay.
Tuesday or Thursday afternoons.
Generally, that would be fine.
See, there are some
how
of
about
us that still work for a living.
Are weekdays good for you?
Too
or
bad.
Are weekends better for you? Oh, anytime, okay.
Okay, that's good.
Right, very good.
All right,
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's pretty good.
Something I probably neglected to mention at the beginning of the meeting, which is that we have a new member on the board who's sitting here. He hasn't been sworn in yet, but he can take part in discussions and input, so on and so forth. Dan Badger is his name, and he's over here for
Welcome,
all those
Dan.
people out in TV land. So,
Welcome to TV
So we're
Land.
back to a full board.
we're back to a
We
full
are?
board at this point, yes.
And we have an alternate.
We have
Yes.
an
We
have an alternate.
Associate.
Oh, associate.
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 member,
We don't
Peg
have an alternate.
Blackwell.
Who knows, maybe we'll move the board back up to 7.
Maybe.
You need another
People will
town
be break-
meeting.
Yeah, and then, 2 or 3 of you will bail out and we'll be back down.
People will
in
be
hot
breaking
water.
down the
Yeah, I
doors
think
to
we stay
join.
where we are.
We're safe right where we are, yeah.
People will be breaking down the doors to join.
Okay, now,
Maybe I'll start
Dan, you had some things you
Welcome,
wanted
Dan.
to talk about?
Not tonight.
Not tonight. Oh,
I'm
okay.
just observing, thank you.
He's observing, yeah. That's probably better.
We'll take that shyness right.
We've already put them off. Okay.
Don't know
Next
which one.
items then, some business. Tree cutting on 97 Tremont Street.
Yes, this lady, Miss Frisbee, called me, and I went out and took a look at these. Here's some pictures. There was like 3 trees that they were definitely getting ready to fall towards her house. So she had the tree people coming, and I knew we wouldn't have time to make a site visit, but it was very, very obvious, so that's why I
Oh,
didn't have.
it's obvious,
I didn't
it's
feel like you
obvious,
needed.
okay.
The house is right there, yeah, and there's power lines right there.
Like a no-brainer.
Ah.
Power lines are right there, the
Yeah.
house is right there, and the
Yeah.
bedroom is right there, so.
Right.
And trees only fall down in the middle of the night.
I don't see any problems.
I
No.
don't either.
Yeah,
Over on High
I didn't think
Street.
you would.
Well, it's the same thing, it's the pines and it's the same problems
all-
that we're
yeah.
having with.
They
You
were
guys
all pines.
remember over on High Street, we were over there looking at a man who wanted to cut some
The solar
trees
panels?
down for his,
Yeah, the solar?
yeah. So the house next door, a couple weeks ago, a tree was right across the roof.
Get out, really?
Right across the roof.
That subdivision is doomed.
It's not really.
They were down there with a cherry picker
The
trying
guy
to
who
pull
was
it off.
building it died, and now
Well,
nobody wants it, and
But
then
there's a
nobody's getting
huge
built.
problem with the pine trees, and the age of the pine trees.
And the
Holy
They
disease.
all have hidden disease within them,
Yep.
and you don't know it's gonna break until you hear it snap and hits your house.
I know.
Other than that, it looks great. That's the
Yep.
reason we pulled down all those, and we took some down out front here, I guess, because they were concerned.
Yeah, I wondered, nobody ever informed us about
Well,
that.
They
I don't
took a
think-
lot
I don't
down.
think there
I was
anything wrong with
surprised.
these. I don't know.
Eversource paid for all of that.
They
Best
did?
of my knowledge, the town didn't pay for any of it.
But they took down so
They didn't look
much.
diseased to me.
I wondered if it was part of the,
They did?
Yeah.
They were bad?
the pyramid plan or what,
No, I don't think it is.
The stumps
I think
were
it was a
solid.
safety,
Oh, well,
safety issue.
Go look at the
Hell, they
stumps,
can
they're
put in-
I
solid.
think this,
Helga was very
this
upset.
building was a.
Well, they took all those trees
issue
down,
of
go
the
look at the
trees were
stumps.
tall,
No
big,
rot in the
and
middle of them.
Shading too much
No
of the
rot
sun
at all.
causing rot.
Yeah, all the way,
Building
they took
increasing our
25
maintenance
trees out.
costs.
Helga was very mad.
It looks like hell.
Helga,
I'm sorry, but it looks like
cutting
hell.
the trees.
Different.
Was yelling at me
No,
the
I
other
don't
day
like
because
different
I got
like
cut.
I don't understand that. These trees.
It is what it is. Yeah, look at this guy, he's missing the top of the trees.
So we're moving on here.
All right, take care of
Okay.
that. Next,
So, yeah, I was-
I'd like to have, maybe we ought to consider a session open to the public with people talking about the fact that they should really seriously consider getting trees that are close to their house cut down, because we have those, that bungalow colony there at the north end of Shore Road.
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, yeah, they've called us a number of times, I
Yeah,
know.
they've got 14, 15-inch trees.
Right.
Next to the bungalows.
Right, and right next to the power line, too.
Yeah.
Remember that other lady?
Those go over up there, they gotta flatten one of those bungalows out. One tree will take them out.
No.
Any of these.
So,
So
We had a friend
in,
of ours that built on Sampson's Pond, and during the storm, he lost a couple of trees, brand spanking new house. One of them came down that was way off away from the house when it broke, but when
But it reached?
It reached, and it took out some of the metal roof and some fascia, and they were literally living in the house, a month. And this is what happened. So, yeah, now you're on the
Sampson's
phone
Pond?
calling your
That's what you
insurance
get for
company.
living on a pond, you see?
Yeah, see, it's your fault, Sabres.
It's the curse of
teacher.
Sampson's, yeah.
Well, I had, as you know, we talked
You had-
about it,
you
the
had to
big
cut,
tree
yeah.
that was a threat to my house. I had
And
that
then
taken
Dave
down.
Robertson had to cut one, remember?
Yep.
He cut a bunch, didn't he? Cut a couple, didn't he?
Dave, I think Dave
Thought
cut
he
a
had two
couple.
or three big ones.
Yeah, he had few,
I
that
had a
line.
half a dozen taken off around the house, you know that, but.
They're
still up,
But they
though, I
were
think.
in the middle, there was nothing there.
But I had, I had that big tree taken down, plus a dead one down by the shore, plus two others that were
Yeah.
200 feet away. And since those trees were taken down a month and a half ago, I've had 3 more trees come down in the wind.
You exposed them to the wind?
And
The
simple.
No,
other
that's what
ones?
happens, you
Well,
expose them to the wind.
rotted. They're
They are.
rotted and cracked, and
Yeah.
Somebody explained that, I forget, maybe it was a member of this board, who said something about
The inside
after
rust
some
out?
hurricane that hit
Oh.
19 whatever.
38.
this-
38.
This is all the new growth that came back after that, so these trees are all about the same age, and when they start toppling over, it's not long
They're,
before they
they're
all.
supposed to be good for 75 years, and
they're
these
all,
are
eight- they're
past
all,
their due.
they're all 80 plus.
Yeah, they're past due.
Well, there you go.
Because if you look around, they're all the same height.
And they'll have that rot.
That's what, I think that's right, it was you that
Yeah,
said that.
it was fine. It was me.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you, Jim.
no, I was just gonna say, well, a couple things. One, we're not necessarily in an area that deals with forest fires as they do out west, but there is typically a perimeter standard for how trees should be culled around a house's perimeter. But around here, one of the problems is I mean, yes, the plantings from the post-hurricane and so forth, yes, but the other thing is a lot of trees here are simply, they're competing for their root systems, and they're just, so they grow very impressively tall, and the root systems are
Weak.
stymied. So they.
It's not unusual to see a tree go over with the root ball attached to it, but what's happened in the last few years is these trees are falling over and they're breaking 10 and 12
They've
feet
been
off
snapping
the
10
ground.
feet off the ground, yeah.
So, and then you see what you would have thought was a very healthy tree, and all of a sudden it snapped at, 10 feet or 8 feet up off the ground, and
Right.
what it leaves behind is good looking, what you can see, I mean, it's not like the center's all rotted out of it, but that's where it broke.
Yeah.
So, and you're right, the stuff does compete for the water.
The speed of the growth also causes the grain, the fiber itself to be spread apart, so it actually they don't facet as well to one another, and so you do have a weaker product, as it were, so. yeah.
What do we got next, guys?
All right, Audubon site visit next Thursday.
Audubon site visit
At the
next
Cole
Thursday.
property?
at the Cole property.
I didn't set that up, Audubon set it up.
It's our
Sorry.
annual
Stop
inspection
and take a day off.
to get us either an attaboy or a bad inspection for our treatment of the Cole property.
Audubon inspection where?
The Coal property.
Oh, the Cole part, okay,
Yeah,
I'm
it's just a
sorry.
walk around.
Next
They
Thursday?
want something for their $2 million. I don't know why.
Next
If I
Thursday.
have the day off, I will, but
Yeah.
don't plan.
I mean, he just says his annual
I'll
site
check my
visit.
Same what we did last year.
I got a dental
You going to
cleaning,
that?
Yeah,
You going to
remember
Audubon?
about the Segway?
Oh, that's right. Okay.
work it out.
If anybody is in favor of a morning versus an afternoon, I'm for that.
Oh, for site visits?
We're morning people.
Yeah, this one
Al
Audubon.
likes the afternoons because you can't get out of bed.
I usually ask for them to be
Who
at
can't?
4 or 5 o'clock in the morning
Oh,
and
Alan.
moan and groan, because, you can't get the dog up that early.
Dog wakes me up, man.
0 dark 30 it is.
Absolutely. And if we have it after 10, Brooke likes to attend, because then we can have cocktails. I'm never letting you.
You
live
are,
that down.
This
it's
is a-
not true, I'm not an alcoholic.
All right, that'll work.
Okay,
All right, I'll check and see if I can make that 11 o'clock
Yeah.
on the,
11
Yeah.
o'clock.
11 o'clock.
I can make 11 Thursday.
I think he makes it 11 because he comes from a ways, like Concord or somewhere, but.
All right, next.
Okay, amend order of conditions, 12 Pondview Way.
So you people issued an order of conditions for 12 Pondview Way. It was a couple meetings ago. So in between time, the applicant called me, owner called me and said, oh, you put the wrong, instead of Cranberry Realty Trust, it was Cranberry Pond Realty Trust. Anyway, he wanted it changed. So I said, okay, and meanwhile, it had been recorded, so I just said, I'll write an amended order and we'll pick up the cost to get it re-recorded because it was an administrative boo-boo. So anyway, so you just
We
need to
made the mistake,
yeah,
so we made the mistake.
yeah, you did.
Okay.
Sure.
You made the mistake.
It wasn't something he said.
I gotta check. So anyway, so I had to, check the box off for amended orders, and so it has to be re-recorded. So it was basically,
I think we need a motion for this, Mr. Chairman.
yeah,
I think sounds great.
yeah, so you're issuing an amended order of conditions, but it's nothing having to do with the
Right.
project itself, it's just,
I'll make that motion. Do we have a DEP number?
we do, it is.
I'll make a
Oh, she
motion,
didn't write it down.
we amend the OOC for 12 Pondview Way, DEP
126,572,
126,572, to correct the,
administrative boo-boo.
no, it's,
Oh.
you're correcting the
Oh.
name,
I corrected, yep,
the recording name?
the recording name, yep, well, actually, the applicant's name.
Okay, to correct the applicant's name, an error made by the Conservation Commission. So it'll be no charge to the applicant?
Right, yep.
I'll
So
second
it's gotta
that.
be re-recorded.
Been moved and seconded to amend an order of conditions for 12 Pondview Way. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pass unanimous.
Has to sign this one.
Yep, with a little blue sticky.
Mr. Chair.
I actually brought a pen this
You
time.
brought a pen? Good.
I have a million of your pen.
I know you do.
I like them. You want a pen, Mel?
I'll see if it'll write.
Alan has his own pen.
Cloud's Restaurant.
Alan has his own.
I get him.
From Cloud Restaurants?
Cloud's Restaurant.
But it has nothing to do with you.
Okay.
So I thought, since Bill Madden's here for 88 South Main, we could listen to that, then he doesn't
Yes.
have to listen to us, the COCs, because nobody's here for the COCs. Do you want to do that?
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Great.
I'm okay with that.
You may come up, sir.
Hey, Bill.
And this is regarding what property?
This was 88 South Main, the
Okay.
repair of the wall.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah,
For,
they came in
I know this, right?
before, and then
Here we go.
we discussed it, and you wanted some changes to the wall, and, so Bill's come back.
So you're back?
How are you?
Why? Why you back?
Um,
Didn't we issue a,
Can you sign in, please?
No, we didn't issue anything. Go ahead, if you can go ahead.
We
No,
asked for a
we
redrawing.
continued the hearing
Yeah.
from, I think it was back in January,
yeah, okay.
to, it was gonna be for 2 weeks, but I think that what happened is that my client has been away, in Florida, still is away, and I didn't really have too much of an opportunity to speak with him until last week. So once I had some discussion and was able to, express to him the concerns that you folks had with the project that we presented on his behalf, he asked me to
Under the table is your dog.
come back and have a further discussion, if you were so inclined, to have that discussion on the project that,
A discussion as to,
I thought we had asked that
No, we
you
already made
take
up our
out one
minds what we
tree,
were gonna do
leave
with
two
that.
trees,
Yes.
and then I think Saber, you
One
wanted the
tree.
wall straightened or something like that.
straight wall, 3 feet back.
Do you want to look at the
Yeah.
plan again?
Why don't we,
I have both plans with me. You know, what I did is I modified the curved plan, taking into consideration the things that you were speaking of. You know, trying to clarify where the trees were, what things actually were. We actually reduced the.
I thought we were pretty generous with you the last time, to tell you the truth. You know,
Yes, and all I'm doing, once again, with all due respect to the commission, is just articulating what my client has asked me to express.
He just told you he didn't like it, and he wanted you to come back here and
Well, I wouldn't categorize it as just because he didn't like it. I think that, you know, we did put quite a bit of work into it. His wife and his family was quite interested in how we developed the project, and was very concerned that we, you know, we meet the performance standards for the wetland resource areas that we were impacting. I felt that perhaps when I prepared the plan, that I might have done a better job by clarifying some things, by showing things in a little more clear manner, particularly where those two trees on one side of the property was that really developed quite a bit of discussion with us. So what I tried to do is just show how that project looked. I mean, when we compare, I have both plans done. I did hear what you said. I drew a plan that shows exactly what you want. And, you know, I can just say from my own personal experience, you know, I don't think that that's the best plan in my view, whether it's an engineering point of view, a wetlands point of view, I do not believe that it is the best plan. However,
We could always just have you fix the existing wall, too.
well, I thought I did a relatively good job of explaining the issue with the existing wall, and that's really repair of that wall. It's a Versalock precast concrete block wall, not really suitable for the location that it's in. The issue with the ice that moves up on that wall each and every year. So in any event, if you do not,
I'd like to see,
The revised?
the revised,
I'd like to see both.
Okay.
You got both?
I do.
We have a copy of one.
Right.
would you like full size or half size? I have both.
Size is
I
fine.
would.
So does the owner not, he's not crazy about the revised wall? I mean,
I
he'd
told
rather
him
have
I-
it the way it was originally.
Yeah, I mean,
Right,
that's
yeah.
the desire,
Right,
but,
right.
you know,
Okay.
I understand how the process
Yeah.
goes. I've been, like Mark Garrett,
Yeah.
I've been doing this work for 40 years or so I've been involved in a multitude of projects over time. Did you just need one?
Not your first ball game, huh? Yeah, we have a copy of this, so actually, this is the only one we're
actually
short.
This is actually the revised plan that reduced the overall.
Oh, it reduced the wall coming out.
Just reduced the
Okay.
overall project.
Okay.
So,
Now, we all have two sets of plans.
right, so he's still
Soon
getting,
to have a third.
it's small, right?
But so what? This is the
Thank you.
double trees, which is still here.
Thank you.
We said he could take this other tree
The
out.
original one?
No, the double trees were gonna stay.
We're gonna stay,
And he's
okay.
gonna put a well in if he needed to.
Okay.
And this center one,
No, he's gonna get exactly what he
give
came
him the
for
okay to
first time.
remove it. The only change is that Savory felt that this should be a straight wall.
3 feet back.
Whose phone is that?
Mine, sales calls.
Al, that straight wall is supposed to be 3 feet back and straight across.
Well, that's what this plan will be.
Yeah.
So that's the revised. I thought that was the revised.
Thank you.
Right, so that's the revised. Straight. So that's basically what's in here.
Yep.
So, because the concern was that this was gonna be
That's what you propose, and that's what we should keep. This doesn't look much different than that.
basically what nothing. He still has to cut that tree.
He's
Obviously,
taking
that's-
that tree out.
Yeah.
That tree's gonna go.
So that's
He's leaving the
definitely
double
gonna
set
go.
of
Yeah.
trees. I thought that was a good,
Right.
So in the, if I just may, on the curved wall, you can see that I left that tree on the detail on the upper right-hand side. I just wanted to show where that tree was on the plan where it relate. And that tree is actually in the buffer zone to the pond. It's not in a resource area. We did have quite a bit of discussion whether we could cut trees on a lot, and I believe there was some discussion that said, no, we cannot cut trees. But I believe that the way the regulation was written is that you can cut trees, provided that we're issued a permit from the Conservation Commission. So it's not a strict prohibition on doing the work. It's really a prohibition until such time one is able to obtain a permit from the permitting authority on that. So that would be that tree is actually a buffer zone tree that we were calling to be cut down, in that the commission requested that we replace that tree on site. We did show on the plan that we would replace that tree, and we did also modify the wall on that right-hand side where the two horn beams are together. What we did is when we reduced ended up reducing how far back that wall, that curved linear wall goes, so that we're not going to really interfere too much with the root system of that tree that we want to work around. So we thought that by maybe trimming that, we could ensure some type of livelihood for that tree and then for the future, and meet one of the objectives that you folks were talking about as far as trying to preserve the tree. So that's what we did there. Consequently, what happened is we reduced the length of that whole wall by about 10 feet. We also reduced the depth of the beach, say from the pond front to the toe of the wall. It went from 15 feet to 12 feet. And then from the toe of the stone revetment up to the top of the stone revetment was reduced from 12 feet to 8 feet. So we compressed the plan. I compressed the plan in an effort just to mitigate the concerns that were brought up in, I did hear what was said at the meeting, and I did understand what was said. Just have to bear with me that, the client did hire me to do a project for him. He did ask me to come back and revisit the issue, to redesign it and see, run it up the flagpole, see how it works, and that's what I'm doing on his behalf. And it's not any disrespect meant to the commission in any way, shape, or form. It's just what my engagement
Business, I get it.
with my client is. So when you look at this and you look at the straight stone wall, they both are on the face of an inland bank. The inland bank separates the pond from the upland area. And when an inland bank is constructed of a man-made material, the performance standards that are associated with that are typically storm damage prevention and flood control. So those are really the two performance standards that one would be immediately looking toward on a project like this. A vegetated bank, as we have on each side of our stone wall, has much more intense performance standards. I mean, there's a wildlife habitat evaluation, not evaluation, but element of it. There could be groundwater recharge. It could be a groundwater discharge point. There's a multitude of truly environmental things that come into play when you analyze an inland bank that is natural occurring as opposed to one that is man-made. So that's why we tried to really be distinct in this case and show that the wall falls clearly within the footprint of that existing wall. And you can see from the photographs that I submitted with the original notice of intent, the first row of block, the first course of block is pushed back probably 6 or 7 inches or so from the next course. The steps that go down to the water are dislodged and out of place. It's leaning forward. It's really not in very good shape. So we thought that from an aesthetic point of view, and aesthetics are a part of the Carver wetland bylaw, and from a recreational point of view, we think that the project kind of works hand in hand with those. He does have a dock out there. That's a licensed Chapter 91 licensed seasonal dock that he has there. Provide them some opportunity to access that dock from the lower area. It does enhance the recreational aspects of using the pond in the immediate area, and we stay really, all of our activity is outside a resource area, so we're really doing our work beyond, in the upland area, beyond a resource area, with the caveat that the existing block wall is the resource area, is the bank in this particular instance. So that was the only reason I present to you what I present now. I think that the other project, the linear wall that's shown, we show it basically 3 feet off the water's edge, means we have more construction closer to a resource area. So there's the opportunity that things can go awry on that, you know, as opposed to being a little further away. I don't think from an aesthetic point of view, it's quite as attractive as the other one. This would be more of a 3-to-1 slope as opposed to that gradual 5-to-1 slope on the wall, because it is smaller and closer. And it will resist, either wall will resist the forces of the ice, which we're looking to overcome. So, you know, from a function point of view, I think they both work identically. I think from a form point of view, one offers a little bit more than the other. But at the end of the day, it's up to the commission to determine what you'd like to have us do. The last time we spoke, the directive was clear to me. It was a straight wall.
How about the comments from, Natural Heritage? I didn't know if they, if you're saying there's more, work closer to the resource area, is that, I know they had something they didn't want you doing it.
There's a freshwater mussel that is the endangered species on Sampson's Pond, and what they wanted to do is make sure that any of the activities that were going to be performed by the contractor were done landward of the high water mark of the pond. So I think that when I had a discussion with the analyst from Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program, we corresponded with an email trail that basically said that we would go forward with a project that would be done at the season of the year when the water level is the lowest in the pond, to facilitate protection of that mussel. And, she was in agreement with it, and that was pretty much that's the sum total of the discussion that we had.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a couple of comments, if I could, please.
Please do.
I think at this point, if we go ahead with this change, I believe that we're opening up a Pandora's box. The reason I'm saying this is we have already, now, what they're doing is they're adding a beach area. Okay? Now, the issue is we have already gone up against, already told one condominium complex that they had to be very careful about what was existing and not to extend it. And we've already told them that. Then there's that Shaw's up on 58 there, where we actually made them pull the sand out.
Right.
Now, I think by allowing this sand or this beach area to be installed, we're actually going against what we've been enforcing for since we've been here. I mean, I'm sorry, but I cannot be hypocritical and tell somebody, no, they can't do it, and then let somebody who decides they got an engineer to come back 2 or 3 times and allow it to happen, and us say, okay, then we'll let you do it. I'm sorry, it's just not fair to it's not fair to our own committee.
Right, and it does go against the precedents.
It goes against our precedent, what we've already been discussing.
So you're saying with the curved wall, that area in between
You're
is
filling
going
it
to
in with
become a
sand and you
beach?
have a sand beach, that's not allowed.
There's no sand proposed to
There
be.
will be.
But there will not be any need to.
I guarantee there
Well,
will.
you know what, I can guarantee you that due to
I'm
the
sorry.
current material that exists in the town of Carver,
You can't
namely
have
the
a sitting
Carver
area
sand,
like that.
there will not be a need to import material onto the site.
I live on the pond, you're right, it's
Thank
there.
you.
Right.
Appreciate that.
So you're
And
gonna,
you're
you're
already-
gonna open it up to a sand area, that's what you're gonna do, it's
Well,
there.
But he's
there.
already
That's-
up
okay.
2 feet off of the water level with the grass, am I right?
Yes.
If it was up to
It's
me,
in a grass
we'd be
area.
working on the existing wall like we're supposed to, not allowing what we've already agreed to. Now they're extending this.
I'm not
now.
saying that I'm in favor of it, I'm simply making a statement
understand what
that
you're saying.
They're not putting in anything, they're taking out grass and topsoil, and the remainder of the whole is what's gonna end up becoming a beach, if you will.
Which is sand.
Yeah, of
right
course,
there.
everything is sand, we're in Carver.
I understand, that's what I'm trying to get across.
You're saying they're creating a
You're
beach.
creating a natural beach, which we have been against since day one.
Right, well, and what we have encouraged people to do is to rake the sand.
sand up.
From the pond back to the shoreline and make their beach that way. Because there's a tendency of the sand to move down the slope.
Well, downslope, yeah,
I just want to clarify what you just said. We don't tell them to make their beach that way. We tell them to replenish their existing beach
Maintain
that
it.
Yeah,
way.
well,
We're not
We're
telling
not
people
telling
to
them
make
to make
beaches.
beaches.
Now, this is what you're saying.
Right, so you're saying that this would be
No.
creating a beach.
replenish
Creating a beach.
by
No,
Where
recovering.
is the water level from the blue line on this drawing? Where is the water, the mean?
There's a
average?
line there that has a dash and 2 dots. That blue line, just on the pond side of the blue line is the water line.
Oh, so it is.
156.
So it's just to
So it's
the,
the edge of the pond
yeah,
is that
it's
blue
right there,
line?
it's right there.
pretty
Elevation
much.
76
That's
is
pretty
right,
much the
is right
water
there,
edge, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
So
Is that now?
if you were to put the straight wall in, if that's the way this ends up, you'll have no beach at all. There'll be,
there'll be 3 feet
Be
thereabouts.
a wall.
well, you're not supposed to have a beach.
But
That's the whole thing.
That's not the issue.
I understand what you're saying. That's one of the issues.
My feeling on this, and it goes along with what Tim had said about opening up a Pandora's box, is the fact that if we allow this, this is in effect a redesign. This is a new design of something that does not exist. It's a new design. Now, if the neighbors to the south and the neighbors to the north
They all
now
wanna
decide
do
that they
it.
want to do one too, but by us saying we allow this, we now no longer have the ability to tell anybody else they can't do it. This, the plan of the straight wall, we can sell as a replacement of an existing wall. And
Gain any
as
beach.
opposed to repair,
I get
you know, repair, I understand that, I saw the condition of that wall when we did the site visit, that repair is not really an option, I agree with you there. But by putting in the straight wall, a new straight wall, that can be certainly explained as
Reinforcing the
as
old wall.
replacing an existing approved structure. And that, in effect, protects this commission from other people coming in and saying, you've set a precedent here by allowing someone to put in this decorative rock beach area. We want to do the same thing, but we want to do it twice as big. And that, to me, that concerns me, not only as a person who lives on Sampson's Pond, but as a resident of Carver who knows that all of the ponds in this town have residents on them, and the water that is in those ponds is extremely important for everybody. If we start allowing one, then we have to allow
Everybody in
all.
town will have it.
We can explain the straight wall as being a replacement of an existing structure, and we always have agreed that anything that's there is grandfathered in, because, you know, that's been there, I'm sure, before our bylaws were
Oh, yeah.
established.
That's-
so we're allowing a rebuilding of.
We're
of a-
allowing a
Yeah.
rebuilding of the wall
Rebuilding
that's
of that
there and
wall, just it's
and a
gonna be all
slight,
brand new.
a slight change in its location.
Rebuilding the bank.
And we're giving you a tree to pull out.
And we're allowing a tree to come out that,
Which is against, but
right.
I'm
So-
I got to agree with you, Savory. I think that, and I think that the 12-foot of additional beachfront is going to wind up coming back to this committee.
bite us right in the butt.
and biting us. I think it's going to set a horrible precedent because Savory said it accurately. There's everything from Crystal Lake all the way up to Sampson's Pond, all these
the ponds.
homes that are on ponds.
Is your water,
Pond.
is your water level now, is that current?
It was as of the date we did the survey, which I
Okay.
believe was in October, so it's
Because the
probably
water's
a
been pretty
little
high.
high now, I would imagine.
Yeah, it still is. So, you know, doing this for most of the summer, they're going to have some beach.
They will have some, and the
5
straight
feet.
wall we did, I think, show a 3-foot wide
Yeah.
piece of step to get down,
That's
to
fine.
the beach area.
And
And I
that's
think that just from, so you can understand truly and fully where I'd be coming from with respect to the comment on setting precedent. I think the only thing that we have going for us on this project and asking for what we're asking for is the fact that there is a wall there.
That's right.
I think if we had no wall there, us asking to put this stone revetment,
Absolutely.
probably knew the answer before we even signed up to do the work.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so I mean, that's kind of how I evaluated it when I looked at it, is that, well, you know, it is something that does exist there. Can we do this and accomplish what the client was looking for? But, you know, I truly do understand where you're coming from on it, and, you know, it makes,
I'll be honest with you, sir, if it was up to me, I'd be perfectly honest with you, it's up to me, I'd just tell you to replace the existing wall.
Well, in
And
essence, they're doing.
how
They
you
have,
do it,
pretty much.
and you can't say to me, how am I gonna do that? You're the one that has to come to us and tell us how you're gonna do
well,
it.
yeah, I could tell you real simply that I wouldn't put my stamp on a plan for an 8x16 CMU dry laid wall on a.
I'm not saying that.
Well, I'm just telling.
I'm telling you, what
Right.
I'm saying is, you'd have to come back to me with a plan of how to do
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
May I
Well-
can I ask a quick question?
No.
Yes.
Is that all right?
And
The tree being removed, is that being flush cut or is that being taken out? The only reason I ask is the root system itself holds a lot of soil in place.
It holds the bank.
Yeah. So is that tree gonna be flush cut and incorporated with this, new structure? or-
Well, we probably wouldn't want that root system to expand itself through that structure. So I would be proposing to have it removed
There is a
in its
current,
stump.
otherwise, the wall would have to go on top of the tree
right, there
stump.
is a current wall there that is holding all the soil back.
Right, no, I saw that, but the tree itself that they were proposing
Right.
removing, can that not be?
It's gonna be removed where the wall is going.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you would have to,
You see, it's,
So the wall will
the
be where
wall's
the
gonna
tree
go in
is.
front of that,
yeah,
yeah.
because otherwise you'd be building
I
a
think you
wall
could-
on top of the tree
Is
stump.
anything?
He's got a picture of it.
Yeah, I was just wondering if anything in the wall itself, the substructure of the wall is going to play a role in, material-wise, play a role in replacing what value the root system of the tree is
There's
for?
very little elevation, it's pretty much all
Yeah,
flat, so
it
that
is.
the root system isn't really holding anything.
Oh, I
The
Yeah,
only
no,
thing
I-
it's holding
well,
is if you remove the wall, it'll hold the bank.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
So-
Right, so the
I-
wall will
Right
hold
up
it.
against.
The
I
wall
think
will
the
hold- the new
mass
wall
of
will
the
hold the bank.
boulders that we're
The root
calling, because
system
we're
is
calling for
what-
1 to 2 ton
It's gonna hold.
boulders, that's, you know, if we pulled that stump and put one of those, put one of those boulders in that hole, I think that's
Right, do a
what
certain-
we,
You're not, that's not on a bank to
To a
the
certain
river, so the
extent.
tree
Right, it's
down
not
the
as
bottom
steep.
isn't holding back a hill. It's
No.
sitting pretty
Hold
much
that
flat
back
in that
the same way.
backyard, so.
it's like 5 or so, 8
Yeah.
feet back from the
You're
wall.
only a couple of foot on the elevation, so it's
Right.
not like it's holding back a
No.
monumental
A
anything.
steep bank or anything.
You know,
where their source
in
of these,
placement of the hole, put
materials
in
from.
whatever you
I don't know if
guys
they're
need to put
from-
back in to restructure that ground and then just build the wall.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah, because you couldn't put
But
it
I
on
think,
top of.
I gotta disagree with you a little bit, Tim. I
Yeah,
think that
well,
putting back in the straight wall,
Question to ask.
I don't have a problem with. I'm absolutely opposed, as much as I think the curve wall looks nicer, unfortunately, we cannot get into aesthetics. I think that we open a wild can of worms, because Savory's absolutely right. There'll be somebody before this board in May that wants to do a similar wall, but they wanna be back 24 feet.
Exactly what I was saying.
No, I mean, I respect all your opinions and your judgments on these types of things.
But I was, you know, it's,
Unfortunately, we have to look at the current, what can we do to help the homeowner out, and then how can we not give so much that it comes back and hurts us? Like the people in here earlier tonight, if we issued all kinds of variances for the logging setup on a bog, how many more people are coming in now to get,
fill up
we
their
open that
bogs.
can of worms, it's just, you know, we're trying to avoid the precedents.
Yes, I think that the straight wall as a replacement is something that we can
We can sell
justify.
that, we can sell that.
Yeah, we can justify that as something that we
But no
can, we
more.
can allow, and use that as the justification should somebody else come in and want to do something else, and saying, we did not approve a new wall or a new design, we approved a replacement of existing wall.
And we try to show that straight section just butting up to the natural occurring bank and
Yeah.
only to be in the footprint of the existing wall.
Right,
Am
and I
correct?
think that's fine.
The owner does not want this straight wall design? Or you
That's
drew
fine.
this up because this is
Well,
what
I-
we had asked you?
He doesn't
No,
want it, that's
you
fine.
guys asked me to do this, and I explained to him what he wanted, and he was, just a little disappointed, and I said, we talked about it, and he's asked if I would come back, and, I got pretty broad shoulders, I can, I think I can make a reasonable argument for things, and I can take the decision that's handed out, so.
I guess my question would be if we were to make a motion to close the hearing on this and vote to give you the variance, let you build this straight wall, is this what you want to take back, or is that what you're looking to have done tonight? Are you looking for another continuance?
think
Do you
it's-
talk with the owner again, or?
I think that sounds to me is that without people making a motion, taking a vote on it, I think I understand where the commission's coming from as a whole. And if this is what it gets, this is what we get, then this is what we get. And it's always the option of the applicant to decide whether he wants to build it or not. He has the order of conditions to do the work, and if he's so inclined, then he can build it. I mean, it's pretty clear the other design is not going to be approved. So I think that what I would do is I would present to you tonight my revised plans that show the straight wall with the 2 original stamped copies and the half sizes. And if that's the wish of the commission to approve that plan, then so be it. That's what the wish of the commission is. You're the authority with the
That's
jurisdiction.
my question. So you'd be okay with us if we were to close the hearing and issue
A
a
variance.
notice of
Yeah.
intent on
Sure.
the straight wall plan with whatever conditions, which I don't think we really had any other than no
I-
fertilizer.
Yeah.
You
I
could
mean, I
take
didn't
out
write
that
any up because
tree.
Replanting the tree with the same diameter, right? The same
No.
caliber?
But he's got that.
Or was that a bit, I don't remember the
He's
size
got
of
it
the tree.
replaced. He's got the replaced.
Yeah, but I
the
mean,
tree
you can't-
replaced.
I saw the tree.
Oh.
We're gonna have them.
Oh, you can't do the same.
I didn't know what size tree it was.
I don't think
No,
we, I don't
it's
think we
gotta
asked
be-
for
Oh, good.
size.
Remember.
16 inches easy. It was a
I
big
don't
tree.
even know that we need to replace the tree, but that's.
We do.
you know,
It's-
We
It's a
do.
big, healthy tree.
Absolutely.
And again, precedent.
Okay.
Well, it is a tree in the buffer zone.
Right.
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 Yeah.
Okay.
Just one question, and I'm not going to take credit for this. Our newest member, Dan, just mentioned it to me when we were chatting a minute ago. If this were to be built, the revetment stones, where would they be sourced?
There's some contractors that build ocean revetments and what have you. I mean, and they have yards where they're just full of big boulders. Every construction site around here that has a lot of glacial till on it and is strewn with boulders, like quite a few of the solar sites, particularly one that I'm working on in Wareham, for example, has so many boulders, we really don't want to talk about it with the client. So that's usually where they come from. There's a fella on Route 28 in Rochester, almost across from Shea Concrete. His name is Dale Briggs. He builds these coastal revetments, and he's got a huge yard of stone. And there's another fellow in Rochester with the
You
same.
thinking Landers Yard, over
Well,
in
there's no
Landers? on
shortage
Route
of
3?
rocks in this.
No, I
area.
just, the question, I guess, was whether there was anything that would leach out of it into the water, or if it's clean.
Oh, I
Clean
would,
Usually
I
it's
would,
all-
I think they're
usually the
pretty.
stones are
Those-
pretty
usually
clean.
the
Everything
ones
I've
for-
seen is
yeah.
clean.
Glacial.
All right.
the ones they use for revetments and stuff.
They're all
Okay,
pretty
that's
clean.
fine.
So would we like to then close the hearing?
I will make a motion that we close the hearing for 88 South Main Street, SE 126-577.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the hearing for 88 South Main Street. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's passed unanimous.
I will make a motion that we approve the site plan of the straight revetment wall, as shown in,
The revised date on that? I'll have to just redo that part of the order, but you can still sign it.
and there is a revised date of 3/20. This is called straight wall with 55-foot length. That's the name of this drawing. So
Okay.
that we will approve the straight wall with 55-foot length.
Yep. So I'll put that in the order then.
I'll second that.
Dates, plan.
Okay.
For the conditions,
Subject to the conditions put forth by the conservation agent.
So it's been moved and seconded that we have the applicant put in a straight wall. What's that now? The date on that, the
3/20.
3/20.
Did you want any particular kind of tree? What's he cut in? So is it white pine that has to be cut?
No, it's
I-
not.
It's a hornbeam, I thought, is
okay.
what I was told.
So any kind of deciduous
Okay,
would be fine.
doesn't matter, whatever he wants.
Okay, but the,
Do a red maple.
I've lost it.
have to vote.
Okay, so, right, but I want the description of what we're voting. Okay, we're gonna vote on the
Straight wall.
straight wall and the date of 3/20, as discussed in the, okay, yeah. Okay. Revision one with a date of 3/20/19. Okay, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
So our vote is 3-1.
And then I guess you gotta vote on the variance, I mean, it's within the 65, even though it's kind of,
I suppose so.
You have to vote on
we
the
usually do
variance.
that, we
Yeah.
usually
You
do
have
that.
to vote on the variance.
Yeah, even
Usually
though
do that
it's a
separately,
replacement.
yeah.
Okay.
You want to make that?
I'll make a motion that we
Variance required by.
we allow for the variance for 88 South Main Street in order to build the straight wall.
I'll second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to
Issue a variance.
issue the variance for the for the voted straight wall solution to 88 South Main Street. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Again, the vote is 3-1, and it's carried.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much
you,
for your
Bill.
time. Here's two originals
Oh, good,
plus some
okay.
other half sizes for you.
Yeah.
Don't you take those other ones that are no longer part of this, that needed, just dispose of them?
I'd actually like to hang on to that one.
You want the big one?
You can have the big one.
Try to keep the files thin, not fat.
This is
And,
Brooks'
and
copy.
Bill,
I'll give it back to
you usually record your own orders, right? So I'll hang on the original for you guys then. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks for your
Okay.
efforts. And here's the signatures.
I think it was fair.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know I
can
gotta
see,
sign.
I can see about the curved.
You don't, actually. You voted no. I don't believe he has to sign that. Does he, Mr. Chairman?
Oh, I
Who's
don't
that? What?
think so. He
I
doesn't,
don't
does
think
he
Ken
sign it
has
if
to
he votes
sign that
no?
If he votes no.
No, he signs, he's
I
a
think I
member of
still
the
have to
commission, he
sign it, I'm
signs.
pretty sure.
He
Whether
voted,
I
he signs.
Okay.
Bye,
whether I
Bill.
vote yea
Thank
or
you.
nay, I
All
still
right,
have
thank
to
you.
sign it
That's right, yeah.
as
You
part
should.
of the commission.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I'm on record as saying
You're on
no.
record.
Yeah, if we all voted no,
You
we'd
seemed
still
like
have to
you
sign
weren't-
it.
I did not, you seemed like you weren't sure. So,
Yeah,
I know you didn't want to.
I didn't.
But it's a decision that the commission reached, whether he voted for or against it.
Right, right. Oh, I see what you're saying,
Yeah.
right, so, yeah. it should
But I'm on
fill.
record as saying nay, so.
Yes,
Yeah.
you
I
are.
don't think you signed it yet, did
I
you?
just don't like the
Yeah.
idea of the 3 foot of beach that we're adding. It is what it is.
Well,
It is what it is, it's over.
None of your names
I
look
know.
like you.
On to the next project.
it's a 3-foot beach today. In August, it'll be a
6-foot
a
beach.
15-foot
Hey,
beach.
Yeah,
you're right, there's
probably.
only two other
And when
And you're right, and you know me, and you're absolutely right. My whole thing is setting a precedent.
Right.
And we do it, and we try to make it clear that we're not doing it.
I
But
think
this
that
is
was a
one of
good
those
decision.
deals where this isn't not just a replacement wall, this is a complete change.
Yes.
Right.
I think that's a good, I think that was
So,
good.
and that'll
I
be
think
the
I would have
excuse
voted
used
for a
the next
replacement
time,
of the
only
existing wall.
for 40 feet of beach, so.
Yeah, I would have voted for the
Right.
replacement of the existing wall.
Well, as the
But at
summer,
least it's straight like the.
It's done.
Yes.
It's done. It's done.
It is the
it's a
replacement.
I'm
replacement
trying to
of,
forget it.
it's a replacement of something that's falling apart.
Right.
Yeah.
Not a new design.
Exactly.
And like the one on Walrit that we, improved, that was straight, the one at
Yeah.
Andrews Point,
Yeah.
that was the same, kind
Yeah.
of straight wall, it wasn't a,
Yeah.
To be clear, almost everything in cases like this would be grandfathered in.
To a great
The-
degree,
the-
yes.
The only reason I ask is because I believe over decades, standards have improved. in terms of
Oh, they have.
what we understand in terms of how, man-made materials leach into natural resources
Right.
and
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. Would there be cases that you come across where now that it's fallen over, let's let nature
I see what
take it
you're
back now?
We don't usually
we don't
do
do
that to the owner. We don't usually do it. I look at my conservation position maybe a little differently than some. Mine is that while I'm in favor of conserving and being careful of our environment, that has the same equal weight as the taxpayer resident who's trying to do something to improve his property.
Sure.
So
Oh, I don't agree with that.
We get-
But, hey, it's okay.
that's why we have differences of
Ooh.
opinion. I believe in
Then I'm gonna go turn
finding-
my beach in.
I believe in finding a way for, while the homeowner may not be 100% happy with the outcome, like maybe tonight, at least he came back with something. We're not making him leave it the way it is,
Right,
don't touch
falling
it.
apart, right.
We found a solution to a problem without it, and that's just as important to me as conserving the wetland area, conserving conservation, because these people pay the taxes. So there's a balance. I try to find a balance. I know that Tim's a little bit tougher, but I try to find a balance. We had a house down here on Crystal Lake. The corner of the property was literally 7/10 of a foot from the property line, to the point that we thought the driveway was part of that house driveway. It was the next door neighbor's driveway. So we threw out every rule there was in the book to accommodate the homeowner, so that he could remodel the house, rebuild the house, make it livable,
Pre-existing.
move it over a little bit,
Sure.
put a new well in that was literally 12 feet from the pond's water's edge.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of that.
We bent
wetlands,
over
yeah.
backwards to make it work. So that's my job, that's how I see it. My job is to find a solution to a problem where everybody can walk away saying, okay, we gave a little, we took a little, and we made this work.
And at the same time, we have to always keep in mind that we have to follow, 315 CMR, we have to follow that.
Right.
We also, there's the era before there were bylaws regarding wetlands, and most of the things that were done there are what we grandfather in. Things after the bylaws were established, we have to sort of abide by what the Conservation Commission allowed at that time.
What the
And
intent is,
we can't,
yeah.
That's right.
even though things may change, we could suggest if something goes into disrepair, we could suggest maybe a newer or better way to do it. But if that permission had been granted by the Conservation Commission 20 years ago,
Sure.
we aren't in a position to say, well, no, it's no good now,
Right.
you gotta
We ran
let
in
it go
that,
back.
we ran in that today.
A little bit,
Yeah.
but there are, most of the things that are
No,
falling
I
into
mean, we were on
disrepair.
site.
You are-
We ran
yes.
into that.
Most of the things that are falling into disrepair now are things that were way before there were any bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
So those, we just gotta say, okay, when, this is what you purchased when you got the house. If you need to
You
repair
should be able to
that,
fix it up.
you should be able to
And
fix it.
people that come
You
before
should be
the
able to fix it.
commission,
And I agree, that wall needed to be repaired. But in my opinion, which is a little different than what Al would say, is that the wall is there, it's falling apart. Okay, we give you permission to fix the wall. Now, it's not up to us to tell him how to fix it. He's got to come to us, or that person has to come to us and say, this is the material we're gonna use, this is what's been authorized, by DEP, yada, yada, yada. And the wall goes back where it was. This commission feels that they want to do it a little bit differently. That is each individual's opinion, and you have the right to vote yea or nay. And that's the way I look at it.
and I think that the residents and the builders.
And we got a good combination here,
Come
so
before,
it
that's
works
right.
for
I
us.
think they come before, and they know that when we sit down and we start to discuss, well, we could do this, and we should, can you kick this back a little bit? Can you maybe redesign this corner here? Because we have worked with these people in up to this point, in trying to make their project work for them, we don't get any, we really don't get any negative feedback. We get back that while a homeowner or a builder may walk out of here not getting the full
Everything he
glass.
wanted, right.
He's
Right.
pretty happy, usually, he's pretty happy that he walked out of here getting a half a glass.
Well, look at both of Jamie Emerson's.
Right. Yeah.
He
Look at
went
everything.
back
He
and
did a-
revised them both,
And he
and
came
they,
back with a great set of drawings
oh,
there.
both projects, one on
Yep,
Holmes and the
yep,
one on Wenham.
Absolutely.
You know, we try to make it,
And if we didn't say anything,
Right.
we would have had some real issues.
that's it, we try to make it non-confrontational to the absolute best of our ability, and we hash it back and forth, and we've argued amongst ourselves.
Right out
at
in
an
open.
open
yeah.
meeting, in disagreement, and, you know, I think that
In the end, it works out.
99% of the people walk out of here when they have their order of conditions and an NOI, and they're content
That they have their
with
skin
what they
left.
went out with. Sure. I mean, we had a massive violation on the other side of Sampson's Pond, that we went over there to see the place on a Saturday, we met with the group, we sat down, we talked, we got everything all marked out, everybody went away shaking hands. That's what, we all live in this community. So we don't want to go out and have them throwing rocks at us as we're leaving the place, you know, because we have to run into them somewhere else in town. So
What goes around comes
it
around.
absolutely does. So that's the small town,
Yeah.
you know, we try to make it, I
Make
try
it
to
work.
put myself in that table is what my thing is, and come at it from where they're coming at it from, and I try to look at it from, okay, what do we have to do?
And as a commission, with this particular group, as we stand right now, I think that our decisions have been very, very consistent. So that people come in knowing pretty much what we're going to allow and
Yeah.
not.
I agree.
So, you know, in that respect, we're not being inundated with requests that are so out of line that we end up being the bad guy. People know, why am I wasting my time? We know how this board feels, generally. So they're either gonna say no, or they're gonna make so many changes that it's not worth it. Let's go in with something that's gonna be close to what they're looking for.
Yeah,
And we really don't have anybody taking and going to appeal
no?
to push this further because they didn't like anything we did, or they didn't like something that we did, and they just, you know, decide, well, I'll just go and do it, you know, through the courts or through DEP, and I'll
And one
appeal it to
appeal since
DEP.
I've been here,
No?
no?
So, I
Well,
mean,
we
that's,
wanted one.
that's pretty good. That's honestly, I think that's pretty good.
You
No,
know,
I
it's right
appreciate that.
there,
I'm just,
Bob.
obviously, you know, just being brought up to speed on what the mandate is here and,
Take a couple courses, you'll get cut up real fast.
Well, I think he's being very humble.
Yeah, I
heard
think
some
so,
of your
too.
background, and I believe that you're being very humble.
well, I also know my place right now, so.
It's okay.
There is no
There
place
is
to
no
know. You
place
are
here.
a member of the board.
You'll find out.
The only thing you haven't been sworn in to vote. Other than that,
Right.
you were put on the Conservation Commission last night by the Board of Selectmen. You enjoy all the same stuff that we do until you're sworn in, except the vote.
Including a snazzy nameplate.
Yeah,
Something.
Right, and I'll order that right
it
away.
has brass backing on it, too. Very nice.
Okay, we're
right.
COCs?
COCs.
These are easy.
Yes, they
All
are.
right, let's get them done.
Which one's first?
Let me just make a motion.
Beaver Dam.
Sure, you could.
Well, we've already seen these. They're just issuing the COCs,
I
am I
know.
correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Where are
There's
they?
no issues with any of them.
Can I bang one out, Mr. Chairman?
Please do.
Make a motion, we approve the COC request for Beaver Dam Cross Street, SE 126-44.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the COC for, issue COC for Beaver Dam /Cross Street.
You
SE
notice- you know what a COC is?
126-44.
Okay, it's a certificate of compliance. So when a project, these are real old files. So when a project gets completed as, you know, in accordance with the order of conditions, they get a certificate of compliance showing that they did everything they were supposed to do, and then that gets recorded and takes any lien off the property or
We're
anything.
signing, we haven't voted.
When a notice of intent
We haven't voted? Oops.
issued,
They have
the
to,
work done, we approve
need
it.
to vote.
yeah,
They have to apply for a
Oh, whoops.
COC.
I won't sign
In order to
it.
get the
I
lien
jumped
off
the gun.
Oh, it's your fault.
property.
Okay,
They go to sell a house. and it's
so
still a
have we,
COC.
it's been moved and seconded
COC, they can't sell.
to issue the COC. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye,
Aye,
Any opposed? Pass unanimous.
thank God.
we can sell it.
Good thing you said you already signed it.
Make a motion, we approve the COC for Fosdick Road, SE 126-50.
I'll second that.
This one was for a bog, the construction of a bog, so this was a no-brainer.
I'm not touching it. Here you go,
Okay.
I haven't signed anything
Did
yet.
you just vote on that?
Been moved and seconded to issue a COC for Fosdick Road, SE 126-50. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Pass unanimous.
I'd make a motion, we issue the COC for 52 Bunnies Road, SE 126-570.
I second that.
Oh, my heavens.
I had to beat him to it.
I can withdraw my motion, you're welcome to make it. Mr.
No.
This was for the reconstruction of a little house on
Yes.
Fresh Meadow Pond.
That
We
was
looked
such a
at it
cute
today,
little
right?
place.
Oh, what, you should see it. Did you go by and see
I
it?
haven't gone by, I gotta go by
Oh, it
and
looks
see it.
nice.
They
You
did a
great
nice job. They did a very
The
nice
kind of a
job.
house that if you had like, you know, a couple bucks in your back pocket, you were driving down the street one day and there's a little for sale sign, you'd go and you'd look at that property and say, oh my God, it's falling apart, but I'm gonna buy that, because this could be a really nice little spot.
That's a nice
He built
spot,
the
is
house
right.
nice, too. He
Tim wanted to
planted-
buy it, but they wouldn't sell it to him.
Yeah, I tried.
Tim was gonna buy it for me.
I made a phone call, tried
Yes,
to buy
he
He was
it.
never
was.
gonna buy it for you.
He was.
No.
He told
lied.
me he would.
No, he lied.
Oh, you lied.
What?
He was
You
never
said you
buying
were
it.
gonna buy it for me.
Brooke.
Oh, yeah.
No,
That's
no.
what I would have done.
Yeah, listen, remember, we've
Oh, you, whoops.
been moved and seconded to issue a
The TV guy's
COC
yelling at
It's a
us.
hell of a
for
bribe.
52 Bunnies Road, SE 126-570. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Pass unanimous.
There we go. Oh, man. Hard to read February's
Gonna
meetings.
bring the big vaudeville hook next time.
That was a good one.
These people out of here, we can go home.
Yeah, the meeting stuff was short. Sweet.
Don't forget to give me those signboard orders back, so I don't separate them.
Yeah.
He's coming in to pick them up.
All right, minutes. Has everyone read
I
them?
haven't signed any COCs yet. They haven't got back to me.
Three. Has everyone read the minutes? Can I make
Yeah.
a motion?
Make a motion.
For the minutes?
Yeah,
You
we've
look
read
at
them.
them?
Yeah,
How'd I do? I wrote those, you know.
they're very good.
Yeah.
Oh, my heavens.
Oh, now, maybe I better read them again.
Yeah, I would double
He
check.
is.
Brooke
He's
took the
reading them
minutes.
like 50 times. He wants to find something.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes of our February 20th, 2019 meeting as written.
I'll second that.
That's 50. Okey-doke.
Speaking of precedents, these minutes are so complete that it may lead us to demand a 25-minute review of minutes.
Honest to God. Well, this was sent to us in an email.
Yes, it was.
Oh, Deb sent it today.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the meetings as written, the minutes as written for the February 20th, 2019 meeting. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll second that.
Wait a minute.
What?
Oh, we had one other thing.
What?
Jim's book.
Oh, yeah. that's
What do we
right.
have?
We would
It's
bring
not
that
on
up.
We missed something?
Can't, it's not on the agenda. What are you gonna put it on?
It's
the
unanticipated.
You have to get the request of the chairman to do that.
I approve.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Tell me so. I
Brooke,
put it in.
Brooke knows what we're talking about, so let's put it in words.
Jim purchased some books.
Jim Kistanauer?
The,
Yeah.
yes,
Just a noun.
what was the name of it?
It's push, was it something to power?
She's
Al
got these
Gore's
circled.
book.
In An Inconvenient Sequel?
No.
Yeah, an inconvenient sequel.
right there.
That is right.
That's the name of it. Al Gore.
Truth to power.
Truth,
Right.
that's it, truth to
But
power.
it's a sequel. The
It's
title
a
is an
re-
inconvenient sequel.
Yep.
Yep. And it was
And
written by Al
they are
Gore.
to be, circulate to the members of the board because we are being pressed to approve a number of solar projects related with bogs and wetlands. And in addition, it's something that the town is very interested in because the income, which it's receiving now.
It's income
from
for the
solar.
town.
Yeah, the,
Bog owners
we have
have
a
a hard
number of
time.
large solar arrays. The
What's the total?
Makepeace Cranberry has about 10 or 12
Jim has to give us a
solar arrays now on its lands.
Yep.
And then a number of other growers have them too. So I
That's how
think
the
it's something that we have to, as the cranberry industry
If he knows off the
goes
top
into
of his head,
decline,
he needs to redo that.
it could be that solar will be one of the saving graces of it.
Not the way.
And I think this book
Ottawa.
puts the case very well. It's written, I'll get a copy for you.
So what we need to do, according to Deb, would be, you just have to,
Say
because
that
this,
they
she
were
couldn't figure out the exact total. Remember how they're all like
Yeah.
different orders? So you would need to just kind of redo
Okay, what I'll
the
do
amount
is,
in order for somebody to
yeah,
give you the
I'll
money.
retype them. They
Yeah,
retype
okay.
it, they bill.
Yeah, yeah.
Then I
And-
would make a motion to continue this to the next hearing till we get a current retyped bill.
Either that or make a motion to have a revised bill submitted and be.
So it's basically
Hydroponically?
we're seeing if we can take the money out of the wetlands fund.
We also have a
No, in
problem.
Washington State, they're
and-
doing it through
and I'm not
hydroponics, and
opposed,
they're
but
exponentially
There is a
faster.
problem with using
Yeah.
town funds for a political purpose. And I heard something that the town administrator had made mention of, that this could be it could run amok of that. I'd like to be sure before we get ourselves in hot water. I have no problem with the couple of bucks that's involved here.
And we have plenty of money in the
But
wetlands
whether we
fund.
like it or we don't, it's a book by a former vice president who's become a climate
Oh, not him.
guru, Al Gore.
Yeah, well, he
And
founded the
I
internet.
think it's a propaganda book, that's my personal belief, and that's all. But I think it's, until we are sure that the wetlands budget can deal with a climate change book, I don't think that we have the authority to
I don't want it.
let them pay for it.
Okay. In defense of my decision to order them and distribute them, the fact is that the wetlands and protection of the wetlands leans on our protection of the environment. And by going to renewable sources of energy, the environment will be protected much more than if we continue to draw our power from fossil fuels. It's been shown for 10 or 15 years now that fossil fuels are killing the environment, and that the only answer is to go to different sources for our energy. And solar is one of the biggest available things, and because of the situation here in Carver, it's a very affordable answer to developing energy from them. So this is my feeling.
Being in a lakes region, have they also looked into geothermal systems as well?
No, I have a neighbor who had put in a very small geothermal system, and I meant to ask him about it, how it's doing. But we,
Pull the heat out of the ground.
up until about 2 or 3 years ago, our building department simply didn't have the wherewithal to
It's very expensive.
begin to think about these things. We didn't have anybody that was that familiar with them that much.
There are some projects I've been involved with, one in the Lakes region in New Hampshire, also very similar to having their water table where it is, just like we are here, where while the community systems tend to be expensive, the residential systems, actually, because they're simpler and the need for individual houses actually ends up being very cost-effective for residential systems. And there are grants I've worked on with the EPA for setting up pilot systems and showing success. They end up augmenting costs if you could tie it in with, if you're wanting to develop, low-income housing and stuff in a given area to repurpose, existing structures already, but not wanting to have the town front the utility needs of that
Yeah.
same structure. It's a definite viable alternative.
I have played with the idea of asking this guy to come in and talk, but we have a solar bylaw that was finally put through about 5 years ago now, and it just is, it was kind of regressive when it was put through, because a number of people involved in helping to write it were very anti-solar, or at least negatively opposed to it. However, the attitude in the town pretty much has changed, and so I think that we're going to have a new bylaw with, they had setbacks of 200 feet from property lines, and we're bringing that down possibly now to 50 feet, and so on and so forth, a number of changes. So we'll see. I would like to possibly see if this guy could come in and maybe talk to that new solar bylaw group about the idea of,
Who's the guy?
Dan somebody or other, I can't even remember his last name. He's my neighbor 3 houses away.
Oh.
and
Well,
We, after the cameras are off, we'll talk a
I
little
would
more
be
about it.
very happy to give you the $15 out of pocket, but I'm not comfortable until we have a decision from the town administrator whether we should take this out of the wetlands account or not. I don't believe this book falls into the category of that. I understand that we're also, it's in our request, and a copy was given to the library.
Yep, and to the high school.
They got their own budget,
They got their own budget, right?
so.
Is it
Right.
wor,
But we-
is it worth reading copies amongst this panel before?
Al Gore.
Yeah. No,
It's an Al Gore book, which
yeah, I mean,
means It's a pie in the sky, let me fly my jet in while I tell you how we can save
Well,
See,
some money.
that's-
well,
that's a problem.
author aside, reading if the content is something that is representative of what this body could support, that's
I
one
think it's
thing,
a lot of
but if,
political propaganda,
but if,
but
but
that's
if
a
there are
personal-
contradictory issues, in that regard, that's something that,
Yeah, I mean, I
I
haven't
want to
read
think
it.
about what,
I'm not
I
sure.
don't
I think we
it's
get
clean
an,
enough,
I get,
to
we
tell
get
you the truth.
an
Al
opinion from the
Gore's
town
books is
administrator.
Yeah,
clean enough.
and maybe we could read a little bit of it, just to,
Oh, it's-
Actually,
we all
I
have an
have.
opinion. Oh, you have read some of it?
I think the
Too
planner
persuasive and
has talked to
not
the
fact.
administrator about it.
His
And he
book, I
said
don't
that
have
it
read
would be,
Yeah.
if we approved.
I haven't
It
read
was up
this
to
one,
us.
but that's.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, if,
I don't wanna see Jim get stuck. He bought these out of good faith out of his
Yeah.
pocket.
They're
I'm
at-
not comfortable with the wetlands paying the bill for it. I would be willing to give him the $15 for the book.
well, we have a precedent that I ordered books on the wetlands for a wetlands field guide for the members to help them understand
Yeah.
some of the things involved.
Right.
And then in addition, we also purchased a insect repellent for commissioners.
That's for a site visit.
I gotta ask you, don't you think it'd be just as easy if you asked us about it before you bought it? So, we
He
could
did it in, he
give
did
you
it on
some
the
direction or
commission's
give
side.
us some
Well,
direction.
no,
I'm just trying to.
He
Oh,
asked the
it
town
would be
planner
great,
if
but-
if it would be approved, right?
Yeah, but
That's
if it's not
okay.
approved, I really don't care. I'll cover the cost of it myself.
Well, no,
I
I'm
just
not
think,
gonna have you
No,
take
I don't want
money
him
out of
doing
your
that
pocket, I'm
well,
sorry.
no, you guys shouldn't, what you should be deciding on is whether this is worth us having and people reading it. That's the thing,
I wouldn't-
so. And I know there are people who have a political attitude about it.
No,
But
one of
I
his
could
favorites.
never know until I read it before I can answer
Exactly.
that question.
I haven't read
I
much.
tend,
You'd have
I
to
tend
go
to,
I had to look
I
at it.
tend,
You'd have to
So
go by
should
the
we- Read it at all?
recommendation of the author.
well, I tend to put my
Let's
thumb on
table
over
this, I
the
guess,
author.
so
Once
let's
I see
table
the
it.
content,
Wait till the
and
town
if
administrator
there's,
makes it.
if
Yes.
it's worth it, then yes, if
All
not,
right,
then
so I'll make a motion that we table
Yeah.
any decision on this invoice until the town administrator makes a ruling on whether or not the
Yeah.
wetlands.
That's all he said.
And I just need to get a revised invoice for you so that you get
Yeah.
all the
Getting a
amount
book from
back,
AOC,
right?
you know?
So, because it was confusing,
Put
yeah.
as a table, I'll second that.
Yeah, because it was
Okay.
confusing to
So
get.
that's it. It's been moved and seconded to table the discussion on repayment for the books on truth to power.
You need a second on that, right?
Sorry, I seconded it, we just need a vote.
A vote, yes. All those in favor of tabling it?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Now I'll have a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Did you all see this? I was
Can't hit me on
damn
TV.
it. I can't.
This
You
is
talk about me
April 1st,
drinking
you
on
sure it
TV.
isn't an April, this is April 1st, you sure it isn't an April Fool's
It's
joke or
actually-
anything? or-
No,
Oh.
it's the
April 4th.
RSVP
It's
is,
the RSVP is by the first,
April-
April 4th.
Oh, I thought it was April
Oh, is it
1st. Monday, April 1st.
Thursday is the date of
make
the
it, so
actual
give that to Dean.
meeting discussion.
So if you want
It's
to.
all yours.
Yeah, I'm
They do
in
something
Boston
before.
that day, so I know I can't do it.
Oh, you got one, Dan. You have
I gave him one,
Oh,
mine, because I'm
thank
in Boston, I can't go
Oh.
that day.
Nobody yet.
Great. Thank you, that's yours.
Yeah, I'll probably try and go.
All right.
You poor
Now I
thing.
make a
let's-
motion to adjourn.
Poor thing.
I second.
Move and second to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Have to order Dan.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed.
Night.